and welcome to a new video on my channel. My name is Audrey and I am a knitwear designer. I usually do podcasts on this channel where I share everything that I make, but this time I'm gonna make a video that's a bit different. I am going to reveal to you and share all of the details regarding the Page of Wands cowl, which is a design that I released a couple of months ago. I made a video presenting the project because it was released as a mystery knit along. So you were knitting the pattern without having seen it, without knowing how it looked like. And every week I released part of the pattern, revealing a little more every time. And so now the mystery knit along is finished and the pattern is available as a complete normal design on my Ravelry, Payhip and Lovecraft stores. So if you were not interested in knitting it as a mystery knit along, if you were waiting for it to be fully completed before seeing if you wanted to get it, you will find the links to the pattern in the description down below, so you can check that out. In this video I am going to do something similar to what I did in my, I think it was the latest podcast, or the one before, I don't remember. But yeah, I presented to you the first clue of the project, and I also shared bits of my tarot deck collection, because the Page of Wands cowl is a colorwork cowl that is knitted based on the major arcana cards of tarot. So it consists of different motifs, and each of these motifs represent the one card of a tarot deck, basically. And so you all seem to like that portion of the podcast, and I didn't plan on making it for the entire project, but by popular demand I decided to do this. So basically in this video I am going to show you every motif of the cowl. So if you still want to follow the pattern as a mystery, this video is not for you. And if you are not interested in seeing every little motif, as well as seeing me showcasing some of my tarot collection, it's not all of them, top of that, but yeah, maybe this video isn't for you. Gonna be quite tedious to follow, but yeah, this is what I'm going to do. So basically, how is it going to go? I'm going to show you one part of the cowl, which was part of a clue for the mystery knit along, and I will describe to you the motifs that I've chosen, and I will show you some tarot cards that represent this motif, in order to showcase a little bit some of the really beautiful artwork that is out there and some of the independent makers that made these decks. So I wanted to first select which tarot deck was going to show which cards, because obviously I have favorites, right? And some tarot decks I really like certain cards, but I thought it wouldn't work completely, and I thought I might as well just leave it random. So basically I have 2 tarot decks per clue, and I'm going to show you every time the cards that match the motifs in this section. So yeah, I'm just gonna start right away. The first clue of the mystery knit along was this, and I already shared it to you on the podcast, so I'm going to go over briefly this one, but basically this was representing the Fool, the Magician, and the High Priestess. And so on the podcast I showed you 2 of my favorite tarot decks, which are the Spacious Tarot and the Ophidia Rosa Tarot. So I thought I would do that again, but with different decks, so that you see more decks. But yeah, the Fool first. The Fool are represented with mountains because it represents the beginning of a journey. This is the traditional tarot deck. This is the Smith-Waite tarot deck. The edition that I have is the Centennial one because I liked its colors better. So this is how the Fool is represented traditionally. And so the two decks that I want to share with you on this clue, the first one is the Embroidered Tarot, the Embroidered Forest Tarot. So it's a tarot deck whose illustration, where the illustrations have been first embroidered and then printed into the cards. And so I absolutely loved the idea, and obviously as a yarn thread maker myself, I kind of had to get this one. And here is how the Fool looks in this tarot deck. So as you can see, the little bird and some of the flowers were embroidered, and then the drawing and everything added some metallic prints to it. This is how the back of the cards look like. But yeah, the Fool represented with a robin, probably for the sense of innocence, I guess. And the second tarot deck I want to show you for this clue is the Weaver Tarot. So this doesn't really have anything to do with weaving. But oh, by the way, yeah, this is a scarf, a huge scarf that I woven myself with leftovers from sock yarns. I'm cold, so I'm like having this here. But yeah, the Weaver Tarot, which is a really pretty tarot deck. Basically, it consists of, this is the back of the cards. And so yeah, I hope you can see them in the resulting video. But yeah, basically, the background of the card, you have a pinkish version, but I chose the black version. And then you have the motifs that are printed in this holographic rainbowy metallic thing. And so when you catch the right light, you get the rainbow. And so the Fool here is represented like this, with some horns, with some flowers. Don't really get why horns though, but why not? But yeah, so this was the Fool. Now we move on to the Magician. The Magician, which I represented with the infinite symbol, because the Magician represents the infinite potential and all the resources that you can use to put things into action, to do things. So in the traditional tarot, the Magician is represented by this figure here. It has a wand, it has the infinite symbol, and it's using all four oh god, what's the name? The word is skipping me. It's using the wands, the swords, the cups, and the pentacles or coins, which are all the different suits of tarot. The rest of the tarot cards are divided into these four elements. They kind of represent all four aspects of life, whether it's spiritual, emotional, intellectual, and material, basically. And so the magician is using all of those. So that's why he's represented with the infinity symbol and the little wand here. So in the Embroidered Forest Tarot, the Magician is this adorable otter. Oh my god, so cute. So yeah, I suppose that's because otters are very... It's an otter, right? Is this how you say it in English? Am I confusing with... How do you call the little seals in English? Not the big ones, the small ones? The ones that clap? Oh, damn. I think you still call it a seal. We don't have a separate word for it. We do in French. Basically, we call those otaries, and it sort of sounds like otter. And so I'm suspecting... No, I think this is an otter. I think I did right the first time. Confusing. You have fake friends, like words that look alike in different languages, but they're not at all the same thing. Anyway, it's cute, whatever animal this is. And yeah, it's as well so much work to embroider things. It's like, I really admire this maker. I will put in the description down below, I will name all the tarot that I mentioned, and I will link them to their websites or Instagrams, something, so that you can find them in case any of those, you would like to have any of those for any purpose. And so in the Weaver Tarot, the Magician is this one. So it's not as shiny as the other ones, but you can still see that it has all the different tools that I mentioned. And yeah, a little bit here. Yeah. And after the Magician, we have the High Priestess here. The High Priestess is a symbol of knowledge. She's a wise figure. It's the mystic knowledge, it's the intuition, it's the moon-related sort of knowledge, basically. And so traditionally she's represented like so. It's kind of a religious figure, but we still have the moon symbol here to sort of represent the mystic aspect of it. In the Embroidered Tarot, it's an owl, obviously, like it's just a traditional symbol of wisdom. Think about Athena. You have the little moon in the background, and you can see all the little details of the threads in the embroidery, which is quite fun. And the Weaver Tarot. So when I did this, in my podcast, I did mention that some modern tarot decks, in an effort to be more inclusive, they sort of removed the gendering of the cards, which I appreciate. And so that's the case here for the Weaver Tarot. Instead of calling this card the High Priestess, they call it the High Sage. That's why it's neutral. And so it's represented here with the eye for the sort of able to see through things, and some moons all around. And you have the black moon and the moon that is shiny. Yeah. So that's it for the High Priestess and the first clue. So now we move on to the second clue, and you're going to see why I wanted to make this as a mystery knit along. So I found that this worked really well for this design because I was able to, in some part, make the motif merge into one another. So basically the clue one stopped here. And so you were seeing these branches here and you were like, what is that? And so after, once clue 2 was revealed, you were able to see this become the stem of the rose. And this is why I thought it was really good to use as a mystery knit along design, because I just find it so fun to see to have a little secret and see what it will become in the next clue and in the next and in the next. And so yeah, I like that. And so for clue 2 we had the Empress, the Emperor, the Hierophant, and the Lovers. So the Empress first, I represented it with the rose. The Empress is a traditional figure of abundance. It's like Mother Nature, it's plantations, it's the like nurturing power, sort of, yeah. She's often represented with blooming flowers, blooming plants, etc. So for this clue, the two decks I want to show. So the first one is the Earthbones Tarot, which is a tarot that I really like, which has illustrations that blend plants and flowers and either insects or skulls. And so for the Empress, Here is the back of the card, which is this sort of rose gold. I realized that tarot deck creators, they really like shiny stuff. Like the edge of the card as well is shiny. There's a lot of metallic shiny stuff. I kind of prefer matte things, but why not? The Empress here is represented with this lioness, which is like the really power mother figure, so to say, with the flowers. And the second tarot deck that I wanted to show, and this is quite funny because I chose sort of opposites every time so that I could show you how diverse tarot decks can be, and no matter what style of art you like, there must be one that you will like, because there is things that are quite heavy into symbolism and that represents plants and skulls and insects and things, and then there's something like the Simplicitist tarot, which is the most minimalistic thing ever, and these just represent symbols. So the Empress is just a little flower, and this is like super cute, super minimalistic, just really pip sort of symbol thing, and it's like really, really nice to have as well from time to time. I really like this one. Now, after the Empress, the Emperor, which is the more structured authority version of power. It's more, it's authority basically. It's traditionally this card, so you can see someone on the throne with a crown, with a scepter. It's like really power, and so that is why I choose to simply draw a crown. Sorry, struggling with words. Just a simple crown, and yeah, on the Earthbound Tarot you have this skull. I don't know what skull it is, but it is quite aggressive with this wide open mouth. So it's quite an assertive skull. And in the minimalistic one, you have a ram, basically. Just a little ram symbol. It's kind of cute. And that's it for the Emperor. Now we can move on to the Hierophant. And the Hierophant, so the Hierophant is a figure, it's often a religious figure, but it's a figure of institutionalized wisdom. So yes, it's like ancient knowledge, ancient religious books, etc. But it's also like community knowledge, the ancestors' wisdom that is passed down through books and institutions. And so traditionally he's really represented like a pope, basically. And I chose to draw two things. First of all, there's the key here in the center, which is the key to knowledge. And I also wanted to represent crow wings. So this is what these are. Because crows are often shown as a non-human version of the Hierophant, because crow bring knowledge. It's like the auspices, the three-eyed raven, this sort of things, basically. And yeah, so in the other decks, the Hierophant, in the Earthbound Tarot, they chose not to use a religious figure, which I appreciate, and it's called the Teacher, basically, and it's a koi fish. And it's a really cute card. I really like this one. And in the Minimalistic Tarot, you have just a book with the key symbol here that I drew. You can recognize it. There we go. And finally, we have the Lovers, which is not per se a representation of love, but it's more about duality, about things being in harmony or having to compromise, having to work as a pair, or having two sides of things to achieve something. So that's why I chose to draw birds that were like facing or opposing, just to play on the symmetry here. Traditionally, the lovers, well, it's two people to represent the duality thing here. And in the Earthbound Tarot, you have a swan. Lovers are often represented with swans or birds. And you have here the dual thing with the fact that one is living and one is the skeleton version. Sort of. And then as a contrast to this thing, you have this little cutie, which is just a heart, basically. So again, whatever style you're into. But yeah. And with that, we have finished clue 2. Chop chop. And so after clue 2, this was this. So we had 3 cards: the Chariot, Strength, and the Hermit. And so for the Chariot represents movement, setting things into motion, sometimes a bit hastily. Traditionally, it's represented like this, so it's like a man in an advancing sort of chariot pulled by a sphinx. I chose to draw a boat, basically. And here you have again what was like little flowers in between the birds became the central how's it called? The big wooden thing in boats. Don't have the word in English right now. No, I don't. Thing that holds the veil. But yeah, the sails. Here, little boat. Now, the 2 tarot decks I want to show you for this clue. The first one is the Wild Unknown Tarot, which is like such a well-known tarot deck. I think of all the modern tarot decks, this is like the most popular one. I don't know anyone who is interested in tarot and don't have it. It's like so common to see it. It's made by Kim Krantz, and it's I do really like it. It's the illustrations really speak to me for some reason. It's yeah, it can be a bit dark, but it's it doesn't like me very much. It always gives me the 10 of Swords card. If you don't know, the 10 of Swords is the card of like you really rock bottom, like you're getting constantly hit and you're staying there, maybe because you like want to or something. Every time I use this deck, I always get this one. And the 10 of Swords in this deck is quite harsh. It's quite yeah. Some of the cards are nicer looking, but yeah, it's a nice one. And so the Chariot in this is represented by a horse, quite simply, a moving horse. Second deck for this clue is again a very different one. It's the Soul cards, which is a set of cards that can be in white, pink, and I got the black set. And it's kind of similar to the Weaver Tarot. You have these metallic sort of ornamental drawings in it, basically. And so this is the Chariot with like a bar and some wings, because often the Chariot is like Apollo's chariot, well, wings, basically. But yeah, this is just shiny. And the back of the cards, I feel, has nothing to do with the style, but I really like the ornamental aspect of this and the little geometrical details. It's really cute. It's really nice. After the Chariot, we have Strength. Strength, which is both physical strength and compassion. Traditionally, it's this card. So you have both the figure of physical brutal strength with the lion, but you also have the more persuasive, compassionate kind of strength with the woman who is holding, like petting the head of the lion. My little dog, the little female dog, she wouldn't let her pet her head for the longest time. Like she was always trying to slip away because I guess she was taking it as a sign of dominance, and yeah, she didn't like it at first, but after a few months she let us, and now she just really likes to be like scratched just a little bit on the top of her head. Anyway, strength. I chose to draw a shield because a shield, for me, it has these two sides. It has both the protective aspect and also you can attack with a shield, like shield wall, Vikings sort of thing. So yeah, it also sort of looks like a coat of arms. So it's that sort of assertiveness, power showing thing. So in the Wild Unknown Tarot, the strength is represented with a lion, but the lion is holding a rose in its mouth. So you have the two sides of it. You have the power, brutal strength, and the more delicate thing because it's holding a rose. And in the soul cards, it's this symbol here, which is like a very structural one. You have lots of little details in these cards. Here you can see you have the moon, you have the infinite symbol, you have the sun. Sort of like full of little specks of details. And that's it for strength. After strength comes the Hermit, which is one of my favorite cards. After the Page of Wands, which is what I named the Cowl after, the Hermit is one card that I really like. And it's often represented with a lantern or a light or a lone fire because it's about introspection. The Hermit in the traditional tarot is represented with this old man holding a lantern, seriously, because it's like finding light in introspection, sort of things. And so in the Kim Kram's tarot, it's one of my favorite cards ever. It's this little turtle, which is absolutely adorable with its little lamp on its shell. Really sweet. And on the soul cards, it's a lantern. Again, shiny metallic stuff. Yeah. Really like this one as well. So, next clue. Next clue was this. And again, you had the fire was really hard to draw so that it looked natural with the like colorwork pixel art sort of style. And the fire slowly goes into the Wheel of Fortune, the little clovers. And then we have Justice, the Hanged Man, and Death. So this was clue 4. So the Wheel of Fortune, I represented it with clovers because obviously it's a symbol of luck, but more so the Wheel of Fortune, traditionally it's a wheel. And it represents the knowledge that life is cyclic, luck turns, table turns, and so it's the sentiment that when something is good, something is positive, you must take it because it might turn, and vice versa. If something is not so good, you might as well, keep in mind that the Wheel of Fortune is turning. So that's it. Now, the 2 tarot decks here. The first one is a really sweet one. It's the Little Monsters Tarot. So, it has huge cards. Kind of big cards, kind of hard to shuffle. So, they're more like illustrations. Basically, they're black and white drawings. And the figures in the cards are like little monsters that are sort of cute. And this is the Wheel of Fortune, and you can see the wheel and the 2 little figures next to it. This is a really cute little deck. I like it a lot. The second deck, again, contrast, is the Pagan Otherworlds, which is a really expensive tarot deck. But basically, it takes the traditional cards but it draws them into a more pagan, sort of Celtic, fauna, sort of natural looking style. And so this is the Wheel of Fortune, so you can get an idea of what I mean about the sort of pagan art style, so to say. So really, those are really pretty illustrations. Yeah, and really nice quality cards. I like the material of those a lot. That's it for the Wheel of Fortune. After the Wheel of Fortune, we have Justice, which I represented with scales, pretty standard. So the traditional tarot represents justice like so. So the typical weighing scales and sword of justice sort of balance things out. The little monster's justice is this little monster who is balancing two sticks with her hands and sort of holding them parallel. Sweet. In the pagan otherworlds, you have, well, the typical figure, but like drawn in this very pagan, earthy sort of aesthetic against scales and sword. Now, after Justice, you have the Hanged Man, which the Hanged Man here is a change of perspective. So in the traditional tarot is like upside down. And yeah, it's about changing point of view, trying to view things in another sense, from another perspective. So what I did is that I took Justice and I flipped the colors. So taking advantage of the fact that in color work you can switch background and foreground colors. And so now the motif color becomes the background, and it sort of represents this shifts in perspective. And I find it interesting to link the Hangman to Justice, because often in times questions of justice, of morals, of ethics, it's sort of a thing where you can have a view on a certain situation about what is just, but you only have your perspective, and if you don't take the others, well, it just prevents you from having a more global view. So I find it interesting to link the two, and I really liked my my color work trick. I was really proud of myself for thinking about making this. But yeah, so this is how they look. And then for the little tarot, the little monsters, it's just a little monster that's like swirling, hanged. And the pagan otherworlds is this one. Again, quite traditional looking. And finally, Death, which was a bit difficult to draw because Death has the meaning of death. The traditional card is this one. So you have Death walking on a horse over people, but at the same time it has a flower as a flag. Yeah, so you have this thing about ending, but also renewal, rebirth, things that are growing out of change and disappearance. And it was really hard. I didn't know what to pick because I didn't want to put a skull there, because the idea was that the cowl in itself wouldn't be so extravagant that, depending on the colors that you choose, it would be quite discreet, and I didn't want any symbols to be quite in your face. And so putting a skull there would be a bit too in your face for me. And also I would have missed the renewal sort of meaning, even though I could have put a flower, but I didn't know how to place it. So it was a bit difficult, so I ended up making the bones here that you can see, and some things that are growing in between, just the start of something here between the bones. And so here is the card from the little monster, which I really like because unlike this one, which is like so standing proud, here the death monster is kind of sad, like he's looking down. He's like, ah. So I kind of appreciate that, and it still has this little flower as a flag. And for the pagan, it's a bit harsh. So you have the skeleton reaping the soul reaper, and then at the bottom people were not having such a great time, obviously. But yeah. So that's it for clue 4. On to clue 5. We are advancing. We are going to make it, don't worry. Clue 5 was this. So Temperance, the Devil, and the Tower. And as you can see here again, what started to grow from the Death card turned into a flower here. So Temperance first. Temperance is the middle ground, like sort of blending things, harmony, balance sort of things. And it's typically shown with blending waters in 2 cups. And yeah, I really like the Temperance card, but I couldn't see any other nice, clever way to put it. So I did just draw the 2 cups with the water going from one to another. Now the 2 decks I want to show you for this clue, one is adorable, and it's the Whispering Spirits, which is like really sweet for kids. The principle is that the little ant-like figures, they're sort of nice little spirits giving you messages and everything. It's kind of a positive deck. It's like really uplifting. And so the Temperance card is this little ant blending. So she kind of looks like a circus athlete. And the back of the cards are these things with the origami butterflies. Yeah. The second deck for this clue is the Prisma Visions deck. So the Prisma Vision, this exists in black and white. I took the one in color for once. The idea with this deck is that for the suits cards, like most of the cards of the deck, if you put them in order, you have a big drawing that forms, basically. You have a whole landscape, basically, with a scene, and each card is part of that scene, and it's kind of interesting. It's a nifty little thing. And so Temperance here is this one. I really prefer the colored one for this. In the black and white version, you still have this sort of scribbly art style, and it makes it even harder to see what the card represents. So here you can sort of see the 2 cups here and the water exploding. But yeah, it's a really pretty color-wise. After Temperance, we have the Devil. And so the Devil, in tarot, I don't take it as much as the religious idea of the devil. It's more about manipulation and about chains, and like putting chains, often the chains that you put into yourself, basically. So preventing you from acting and like doing things, and sort of putting restrictions. But more often than not, it's our own minds doing it. And so I represented it quite traditionally with a horned goat. So the typical traditional card is this. So you have a classical horn devil with a reverse pentacle. Pentacles are not bad if they're the right way, and that's it. And 2 people that are chained. But as you can see, they're chained, but they're loose chains. They don't seem that bad. So it's that idea of you're in chains, but maybe you put them yourself, or you could get away from them, but you don't. So the horned goat and the prison. This is why I dragged down those lines, so that it represents bars of a prison. So in the Whispering Spirits tarot, the devil is this little frog, which, I mean, it has flames on top of its antennas. Adorable. And yeah, it's like puppet string mastering these two things here. And for the Prisma Visions, the devil is represented with the forest, and it's like you can see these big black lines formed by the tree trunks, and it's sort of like obstacles and like not letting you pass, and with the red light. I really like the color ambience in this one. And yeah, so after the devil comes the tower, and the tower is a symbol of change, of something breaking down, basically. This is the traditional card, so as you can see, lightning is striking the tower and it's making it crumble, and it's destruction, basically. But the tower was built on something like not so secure. Like it's yeah, it's a bit unsafe. So the idea of the tower for me is that it's distracting something that wasn't built on good foundation, so maybe it needed distracting. So you have the idea of the lightning strike that destroys, but it's also light. It brings light to things that were on poor foundations, so to say. So that is why I represented just a stormy cloud with lightning strikes. And in the other tarot decks, this is the Whispering Spirits one, and I mean, they look adorable. They're falling. This deck is so cute. It's really, really sweet. And yeah, it's just this little flower that is stricken. To just look like this one here is like floating. Like what is happening to me? Yeah. And in the Prisma Visions, you have here again. You have the lightning strike here hitting the cliff. But like, why was this house built on such a cliff? It's like maybe it wasn't such a good idea from the start. So yeah, that is the idea behind the tower. And with that, we are going into the last clue. So clue 6, which was all of this. So we had the star, the moon, the sun, judgment, and the world. So all of those were clue 6. So we can start with the star. The star, which I drew with, have little stars here, and yeah, the cloud sort of leads way to the stars above. And in the traditional tarot deck, this is the star, message of like hope and sort of bleeding things, so to say. Here. And so the last two tarot decks I want to show you, the first one is the Moonchild Tarot. So the Moonchild Tarot is a deck that was created by an artist called Danielle Noel. So she made a lot of them, and she made the Star Child and she made the Moonchild. And I much preferred the colors of the Moonchild, which are a bit more muted. And basically it's a collage deck, which means that the art style is not drawing, it's like scrapbooking. Basically, she picked pictures and elements of magazines and stuff and other things, and she made the cards this way. There's a lot of tarot decks that are made with this art style. I don't really like this art style. I have a hard time adhering to it, but this one I really like because the colors it's just so uniform. It works really well. So this is the star card in it, and it's like these sort of blue mauve sort of like dusty gold, and I just really like the mood of the colors, basically. So as you can see, you have this light above for the star. This is the backs of those cards. Again, shiny stuff. And yeah, the second tarot deck for this clue is the Tarot of Plants. So a very minimalistic tarot deck which uses plants and flowers as symbols for each of the cards, and you have a really good book that explains to you why the plant was chosen for this symbol, and it's a really sweet, cute tarot. Again, two cards are going to be completely different. So for the star we have rosemary, which is really nice. Now, after the star, the moon. And so I represented the moon phases pretty straightforwardly. So the cowl is made of 20 stitch repeats, so you can add more if you don't have the right gauge or if you want a wider cowl. But the moon is made on half of the cowl. But if you added stitches, it's easy to adapt. Like you can add stitches here to the sides, or you can spread the moons a little bit if you like. But yeah, it's made across. And so traditionally the moon, it's this one. It's like with the dogs and the wolves howling. Can you explain? Does anyone know why it's a lobster? It's like it's always shown as a lobster with the moon, and I don't understand. It's quite a symbol that comes back and back, and I could never find an explanation of why the lobster, what it means. If you have any idea in what way the lobster is connected to the moon, I would very much like to know. So in the Moonchild Tarot, the moon card is this, and you can see the colors blending all together. It just works so well. Really like this card. Where are you? Here. For the Tarot of Plants, the moon is represented by the water lily. Little water lily. After the moon, the sun. And so the sun as a symbol of positiveness and woo. And I represent it often with the sunflower. So that's what I drew here. And typically the sun is this sun with a naked child on a horse, which I don't know why. Why is it a child? And why does it have to be naked? It's like, I can't ride horse. Well, I don't know. I haven't tried since then. When I was a child, I went on horses a few times, and every time I got like huge irritations on my legs because of it. It was like a skin reaction to the horse. No matter I was wearing like appropriate clothing, but it seems like I'm allergic to horses or something. Which is a shame. But so yeah, this doesn't sit right with me. For some reason. The sun in the Moonchild Tarot, just go away. If you don't want to stay on my shoulders, just leave. The sun is woo, with people dancing, and you can see here the collage effect with their 1920s ladies partying to the sun. And obviously a sunflower here. And yeah. After the sun comes the judgment, and the judgment is like answering to a call, answering to your inner vocation. Vocation is not a word in English. Like inner purpose, inner like what you want to do, things like this. And yeah, it's traditionally represented with this angel ringing the horn. And so I chose to draw a trumpet, which wasn't the easiest thing to do, but I did it nonetheless, and I'm kind of happy with my little trumpets. So in the Moonchild Tarot, this is it. And so you have this idea in the judgment of passing a door, like entering something, going through, taking a journey, basically going a certain way, like picking a way. And so going through a door, and you have the doors here and some sort of a guardian with this Egyptian god representation. And the Tarot of Plants, Judgment is a tulip for some reason. Really nice minimalistic tarot, this one. And finally, the last card of the Major Arcana, and the last motif of this cowl is the world. And so it's like the air coming out of the trumpet is making this spiral, and the world is often like shown as an entity, like everything is a circle, everything is contained within itself. It's like the world, basically the wholeness of it. This is the traditional world card, so you have this idea of circling with different elements of life on Earth. And In the Moonchild Tarot, it's called the Universe, which I guess makes also sense. And you have these nebulas at the background, and this person holding the whole world, basically. And as the Tarot of Plants, the world is an apple. I assume because of the knowledge aspect, wisdom brought by apple. So, yeah. And that's it. We have done everything. So, yeah, the cowl, it's a fairly easy cowl to knit. I had beginners in colorwork making it during the Mystery Knit Along, and they did great. It's like, it's just in the round. And the thing is, yes, maybe these are more complex type of motif, but the fact that they change often and that it's just round, 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 you don't change, you don't increase, it makes it a really easy project too. And yeah, so you can wear it like this. I really like tube cowls because usually they're plump enough that you can have them like this and it's warm already, or you can double it and wear it like closer to your neck. And yeah, so that is the Page of Wands cowl, and it's now available as a full complete design on my Ravelry, Payhip and Lovecraft stores. Again, I'm putting the links in the description. So yeah, the pattern is now one big file, but the charts are still divided because I had to. But so if you want to still follow it clue by clue, you can. Yeah, I really liked making this. It was really fun seeing everyone's version. I highly encourage you to check the versions that have been knitted because they use so many different colors and the cowl looks very different. You can choose something quite autumnal with a sharp contrast like I did, or you can go for something a bit more muted, either dark or pastel, or you can go for black and white. Some people used variegated or gradients as their contrast color, which was great. And yeah, it looks completely different depending on the colors that you use, and it can suit a variety of yarns. It uses fingering weight, and yeah, that's about it. So yeah, I really enjoyed making this Mystery Knit Along, and yeah, I kind of want to make it a yearly event, and I may have an idea for next year, so maybe see you in August 2021. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little video. I will see you very soon with a new podcast, probably next week, because I have some things to present to you. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely rest of the day or week, and I will see you very soon. Bye!